Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Vanita. Today we'll be knowing one of the most fascinating topics, which is energy flow in an ecosystem, trophic levels, food chain, and ecological pyramid. So as we know, ecosystem comprises of biotic and abiotic components. So biotic components are the living creatures which are present. Abiotic components are the non-living components which are present. So when abiotic components and biotic components are in coexistence with each other, it comprises of ecosystem. So when we know about the energy flow in the ecosystem, so what is the energy flow? So this flow of energy is the movement of energy through organisms from producers to consumers. So as we know, producers are those organisms which produce the food. So when there is a flow of energy from the producers, the food producing plants, to the consumers. Who are the consumers? The consumers are herbivorous animals which eat the producers, and the herbivores are further consumed by the secondary consumers. So this kind of a flow of energy from one organism, from one producer to another, the consumers. So this is called as a flow in an ecosystem. So when we come to the base of the energy, sun is the primary source of energy for most of the ecosystem. It is through the sunlight that the producers take in the energy in combination with carbon dioxide and water and produce glucose, produce the required food. The food is present in the form of fruits, vegetables, and these are consumed by the primary consumers, which could be any animal like rabbits or deer, which feed upon the grass. So these are the primary consumers which feed on the producers, the plants. Now these primary consumers are, are consumed by the higher animals or the secondary consumers like foxes and cheetah. So like this we find this kind of a flow of energy in an ecosystem. So we'll further know about more about these. So as we start in detail about the producers, so the producers in the ecosystem are the plants. The producers are organisms that can make their own food, such as trees, shrubs, grasses, algae, lichen. So when we say lichen, it's a symbiotic relationship between algae and fungi. So in the this particular symbiotic relationship, algae produces the food. The seaweeds like spirulina, cyanobacteria, these prepare the food, and some bacteria. Cyanobacteria are the bacteria which produces the food. All of these are the green in color because they contain chlorophyll that absorbs energy from the sun and uses it to produce its food. So the food is produced by a process called photosynthesis. So as we all know about the photosynthesis, how plants manufacture food by sunlight, carbon dioxide and water, and the food is in the form of glucose. So as the food is synthesized in the plant, it is in the form of a fruit, it is in the form of a seed, it is in the form of a pod having the seeds. In a wide aspects it is there in the plant. So coming together, the examples of producers, the algae which produce the plant. As we know, plastids consist of chlorophyll which synthesize the food, and we find the phytoplankton present in the aquatic region, where it is in the form of water plants, where Vallisneria, these kind Pistia, these kind of plants are called as phytoplankton. That means a plant, small plant bodies which are present in the aquatic region, in the river, sea, ocean. And the plants which are terrestrial, which are there in the terrestrial, algae which are present in floating in the rivers, in the ponds. We also find some bacteria. So as we can see, the bacteria So these are the cyanobacteria which also produce the food. So as we have some knowledge about consumers, we'll know about the definition of consumers. Consumer in an ecosystem are organisms that eat other organisms to get energy. They are called as heterotrophs, which means other eaters. So autotrophs are the producers of the autotrophs, which produce their own food. So the plants which do not prepare their own food and rely on other organisms for the food are called as heterotrophs or other eaters. So they eat other organisms to get the required energy for their sustenance, for their growth and development. So these consumers are divided based upon the priority. The first, the organisms which eat the producers are called as a primary consumers. They are primarily consuming the producers. So these are heterotrophs that feed on producers. Since producers or autotrophs are typically plants, primary consumers are herbivorous animals. So what are herbivorous animals? These are animals which feed on grasses or which feed on the producers for their survival. And secondary consumers feed on the primary consumers. As you can see the picture of a rabbit, here the rabbit relies on carrots and grassy plants for the growth and development. These are the primary consumers. So next we will come to know about the secondary consumers. So secondary consumers are organisms that eat the primary consumers, and they eat the flesh of the primary consumers. So as we can see, there is a leopard, a jaguar, which or the higher organisms or the bears, the tiger, the cheetah, lion, they consume other animals like deer, the grass eating animals like deer, rabbits, or the horses, or we find zebras. So secondary consumers eat fresh meat. They need to hunt themselves. These animals are carnivorous animals. They can also be, sometimes we can also term as omnivorous animals. Some examples, as we have discussed, tiger, lions. Now we'll come to know about decomposers, one of the important category where we find the energy of the organism back to mother nature are the decomposers. So decomposers are organisms that break down dead organisms and release the nutrients from the dead matter into environment around them. Decomposition relies on chemical processes similar to digestion in animals. In fact, many sources use the word digestion and decomposition interchangeably. So we mean to say that these are organisms that feed on dead and decaying organisms, and they derive the nourishment from them and bring those nutrients back to soil. So decomposers consist of a different category of organisms. We find detrivorous organisms, fungi, microorganisms. So when we know the finer some categories of detrivorous, we find detrivorous are organisms which feed on small chunks of flesh or some kind of food which is derived from, or pieces of matter which they consume, the breakdown of the flesh they consume and break up into small units of soil. For example, crab, earthworms, snail, and beetles. So these all organisms are detrivorous because they consume dead plants, dead animals, and then convert to smaller units of flesh, or they convert them into the soil. And the second category are the fungi. As we know, agaricus, we find rhizopus, the major fungi of bread mold, the rhizopus. So when the food is spoiled, we find quickly the growth of rhizopus, which convert the rotten food to back to the basic nutrients of the soil. So fungi is an important aspect which are the major decomposers. Another category of decomposers are the microorganisms, the bacteria, the protists. So these bacteria are present in soil, they are present in various land, water. The primary function of these bacteria are to consume the dead and decaying organisms, the fecal matter, and convert and bring back the nutrients to the soil. We also find the protists which are present as diatoms in the water bodies, also consuming these and making the nutrients in the water bodies. So as we find the energy flow through an ecosystem, this flow of energy coming from the sun, where producers are trapping the sunlight, they are trapping the energy of the sunlight using water, carbon dioxide, and producing the food. The energy is flowing from the producers to the herbivorous animals, and from the herbivorous animals, carnivorous, the energy flow is through the carnivorous animals, and by the dead and the decay of these animals, decomposers take the energy and bring back to the soil. So this is how the flow of energy is there in an ecosystem. When plotted a graph or one plotted a model, we find it is represented in the form of a cone. So we find a larger unit of the cone as producers. The producers find the largest unit. So these producers are consumed by the herbivorous animals, which are the primary consumers, and we find the cone is going little narrow, and then we find secondary consumers little more narrow. As when compared to the autotrophs, we find smaller unit of herbivorous and still smaller unit of the carnivorous animals, which are fewer in number compared to the grass eating animals. And then the tertiary consumers are further a very small aspect. So in this manner we find the flow of energy represented in the form of a conical diagram to know the unit of these animals diagrammatically represented from larger producers to the lesser tertiary consumers. So these are represented diagrammatically, and it flows how the energy flow narrows towards the top. So coming to the trophic level. So trophic level refers to the sequential stages in the food chain, starting from producers at the bottom, followed by primary, secondary, and tertiary consumers. Every level in the food chain is known as a trophic level. So we have known about the flow of energy and the stages in the conical representation of the flow of energy. So we find the producers finding a larger place, and then we have herbivorous animals and the primary consumers, secondary consumers. So these kind of stages which are sequential represented. So this kind of sequential representation of the stages of the ecosystem of the food chain is called trophic level. So the trophic level is starting from the producers and then followed by the primary consumers, secondary consumers, and the tertiary consumers. So every level in the food chain is known as a trophic level. So as we can see the another diagram where we are taking that category of producers as one particular trophic level, and the another category of primary consumers as another trophic level, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and the decomposers. So these trophic levels specifically represent the stages in the food chain. So primarily we find around 3 to 6 trophic levels present in a food chain. So we can have a look at the picture where we are representing the energy flow in the trophic levels. We find the producers and the herbivorous animals, followed by the secondary consumers and the tertiary consumers. So we'll know about the food chain. The food chain is a chain which is representing the direction of the flow of energy and the nutrients through an ecosystem. So as we have seen the direction of the flow of ecosystem, where we find the producers and the primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. So this kind of a direction of the flow of energy is called a food chain. The food chain, here there's an example of the grass and the grasshoppers, the small insects which feed upon the grass. Birds consume the grasshoppers, some of the insects like grasshoppers, locusts, and then these birds are consumed by the reptiles, followed by the aves or the owl which is consuming the reptile. And again, on the death and decay of these birds or the owl, mushroom or the fungi, they are bringing back these kind of organisms to mother nature. So this kind of a flow of energy, where energy is transferred from one organism to another organism as food, is called as a food chain. So there is another representation of the food chain, where we are defining food chain consisting of four major components: producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, and decomposers. So as there is a representation of the plants, grasshoppers, and then we find the primary consumers, secondary consumers, and the fungi. So what's a food web? So as we know, web is an interconnection. So here food web is a network of interconnected food chains that show how organisms in a community eat each other. It's a visual representation of the feeding relationship between organisms in an ecosystem. So here we can see the small plants are eaten by a mouse, and it is further eaten by the owl. And on the other hand, we also find plants eaten by small insects, eaten by frogs, and again also eaten by an owl. So we find different different food chains connected, and then there is also so much of interconnection or different food chains overlapping each other like a web. So this kind of network of interconnected food chains that show how organisms in a community eat each other and how there is sustenance of energy in the ecosystem. So this kind of interconnected food chains are called as a food web. So after knowing about food chain and food web, we'll be knowing about ecological pyramid. So ecological pyramid is a graphical representation of the relationship between organisms in a food chain. So as we are representing the organisms in a food chain, where we find producers at the bottom of the cone, then we find herbivorous animals, carnivorous animals, and the decomposers. So as we represent, the category of producers fall in the lowest category of the cone, consuming the largest portion. So this representation falls in the shape of a pyramid because of the major producers being in majority, followed by herbivorous, followed by carnivorous and decomposers. So this pyramid represents how the organisms are present in a food chain. So when we come to know about some more aspects of the ecological pyramid, so it is having a base which is very broad. So this base is made of the lowest trophic level, which are the producers. The next level, as we have seen, these are the primary consumers, and then the flow of energy is from bottom to top. As we know about the producers, consumers, and the secondary consumers, the flow of energy is unidirectional from bottom to top. Each trophic level contains about 10 times less energy than the previous one. So when we see the bottom is very broad, and when we see the next level, so the next level consists of 10 times less energy than the bottom. So this ecological pyramid, as we have seen, is the relationship between different trophic levels, and the energy level gradually decreases as we go towards the top. So it decreases for every trophic level. The decrease in energy is 10%. So this is another diagrammatical representation of the pyramid, where we can find a larger constituent of producers, where the energy is 10%, and then we find lesser energy in the next trophic level, followed by the very less energy at the top. So as we see different energy, we'll come to some more aspects about the energy pyramids. So as we compare the aquatic ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem, and we find that the zooplankton constitutes important aspect in the aquatic ecosystem. And in the terrestrial ecosystem, grasses are very prominently present and major constituent of an ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem. Whereas in an aquatic ecosystem, we find the zooplankton constituting the major component of the pyramid. And in the terrestrial, as we have discussed, the energy transmission for every trophic level decreases by 10%. And in aquatic ecosystem, we find there is also a gradual decrease in energy. So why these ecological pyramids carry so much of importance? So when we understand the ecological pyramid, it helps us to know about how organisms feed on each other in different ecosystems. So we have desert ecosystem, we have aquatic ecosystem, we have further ocean, the ecosystem present in the oceans. So it helps us to know about the conditions in the ecosystem, and we are able to become more aware about the trophic levels and how the ecosystems are being there, whether aquatic or marine or the terrestrial ecosystem. So these pyramids are further divided into pyramid of numbers, pyramids of biomass, and the pyramids of energy. So we'll come to know about these pyramids. So as we have seen, the pyramids are of numbers, biomass, and energy. So these pyramids show how the energy and nutrients flow through an ecosystem. So as we see, the pyramid of numbers show a traditional cone diagram representing more number of producers, then comparatively lesser number of primary consumers, lesser number of secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers in a very less amount. When we move to the pyramid of biomass, it shows total mass of organisms at each trophic level. So this total mass of organisms can be upright or inverted. For example, in ocean, many zooplankton depend on very few phytoplanktons. So as we know, in the aquatic ecosystem, we hardly find any kind of plants, water plants. So if it is there, the quantity is less. So the pyramid of the aquatic ecosystem is an inverted pyramid, where few phytoplankton are there. But as we move on, the final trophic level is in a bigger quantity. So this ecosystem is an inverted ecosystem. So this is inverted pyramid in aquatic ecosystem, whereas we find the upright pyramid in the terrestrial ecosystem. Now we move on to the pyramid of biomass, which shows the relationship between biomass and the trophic level by quantifying the biomass present at each trophic level. So by biomass, I mean to say the flesh being present at each trophic level of the organisms. So the biomass present at each trophic level of ecological community at the particular time is called as a pyramid of biomass. As we know, the pyramid of biomass is a cone for terrestrial ecosystem and inverted cone in the aquatic ecosystem. The last is the pyramid of energy. The pyramid of energy shows the flow of energy from producers to consumers. It is always upright because the energy is flowing from unidirection, from one direction to the another direction, and some energy is lost in the environment at each trophic level. So when we happen to look the diagram, so the cone, we find the energy is flowing from down to up. It is unidirectional. At each level there is a loss of 10% of energy in the cone from primary producers to the tertiary consumers. So this is about the pyramid of energy. So on average about 10% of energy available within one trophic level is transferred to the second and to the next trophic level. The more levels that exist between a producer and a consumer, the smaller the percentage of original energy from producer that is available to that consumer. So as we can see, if the pyramid is having number of consumers, the energy is even more smaller till the top. As for every level there is a loss of 10% of energy level. So these are the different pyramids constituting the pyramid of number, biomass and energy. So finally, I summarize by the energy flow, which is a movement of energy through organisms from producers to consumers. And as this movement is there, we find different trophic levels of the producers, consumers, constituting the flow of energy. We find the flow of biomass and the flow of numbers in the energy pyramid. So this ecosystem and the energy flow constitute one of the fascinating thing to understand how ecosystem works and how there is diversity in an ecosystem. So energy flow in an ecosystem constitute one of the prime areas to understand how ecosystem works in a diverse climatic condition through different geographical areas. So this diversity helps us to know about the functioning of the ecosystem and about the food chain, about diverse animals being adapted to that particular ecosystem. So in this ecosystem, ecological pyramid constitute the understanding to know the flow of energy. So these are the basic things to understand about the survival of animals in different zones of the world. As we find diverse animals being adapted to diverse climatic conditions, energy flow in an ecosystem is helping us to understand this dimension of survivability in the existence of nature. So by this I conclude. Thank you.